We finally had some decent weather here, so we decided, let's start an orchard. Orchard, food forest, plant haven, whatever you want to call it, we're happy to say that these are the first steps towards our long-term perennial food forest. Just before the heat of summer, we were able to plant our fruit trees, berry bushes, and nut trees. Though it'll take a handful of years before they start to produce any real fruit, the excitement that we had was still present once they were in the ground and we could see the future. The simple thought of knowing we won't have to buy any fruit during our summer and fall months while also preserving and freezing as much as we can to last us through the dead of winter is pure bliss. Notice the title of our video is We Started Our Orchard, not we planted our complete orchard or finished planting our orchard, because we know that this is going to be a process that is going to be ongoing forever. Planting new species, taking out dead or dying trees, tending to our thriving and producing plants. Though it seems like this might be a plant it and forget it type of thing, we know that it's going to be a ton of work, but work we enjoy and work that will be worth the effort. This year we decided to plant the following: blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, pears, plums, peaches, hazelnuts, and walnut trees. Funny enough, after we were done planting, my wife and I noticed that we didn't even plant our most basic fruit tree, apples. Goes to show, I guess, just how much we eat apples. A couple of tips that we picked up along the way that hopefully you can find helpful. And though this was our first orchard planting ever, we spent so many hours beforehand researching different varieties, different methods, and where we can plant them, and a few other important things we learned. The first thing is to make sure you know the variety of the fruit you're planting and what pollination method it requires. Cross-pollinating or self-pollinating. It's pretty basic, but as a new gardener, it can definitely be overlooked. And you want to minimize any chance of your plant not producing or dying, so make sure you do this research beforehand. Secondly is know where to plant them. We planted our bushes on a slope across our yard, allowing for water to pass through the root system fairly easily, but not bogging it down. Our fruit trees were planted on high points within our yard for the same purposes. Making sure water doesn't pool around the base of your tree or shrub is going to be important, because the last thing you want is standing water around your fruit tree causing root rot or other issues. When in doubt, plant on a high point. Third is to plant wide and not necessarily deep. Whether you buy planted trees or bare roots, it's always better to plant more wide than you do deep. Now, what do I mean by that? Planting wide, having a large hole to place the root in, will allow space for the root system to grow and expand in search of more nutrients and create a sturdier, hardier plant. Most people will suggest at least a minimum of twice the width of the fruit tree base. And once that soil is loosened up, it's going to have less resistance for those roots to spread and to grow. Also keep in mind not to plant your tree too deep, because this can create a crater that will allow water to sit, and we don't want that, as we just talked about. So high and tight is always a good thing to keep in mind when planting. And last is to only use the native soil in the planting hole. At first, I didn't understand why this would be. Why wouldn't you want as much high quality fertilizer and nutrients to give to your plant at the beginning to give it the best shot at thriving? And in theory, it makes sense, but putting these nutrients directly into the planting hole will not encourage the roots to grow and to wander far in search for nutrients. If the plant knows that the best soil is right there where it's at, it can lead to problems down the line when the root system hasn't become established enough to produce fruit or even grow. The best practice is to just use the soil in the planting hole that you dug out from, and then place a layer of compost or mulch on top of that planting hole, allowing those nutrients to soak in as well as to retain moisture. When growth appears, a few years maybe down the line, then that would be an okay time to use your fertilizer. And this is something that is recommended by many gardeners that are much more knowledgeable than I. So if you don't want to take my word for it, take theirs. Now, we know this is going to take a few years at least for us to get any sort of fruit or any production from our plants, but that's okay. I think once everything is in full harvest, when everything is ready to eat, we can look back and it'll be well worth it. So thank you guys for watching. This is the Cypress and Sparrow Homestead. My name is Austin, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.